Hi, this is Marek from Tryb. Today I'd like to show you a game called Lands of Galzyr. It's a game published by Snowdale Design, and thanks for sending the game for review. And Lands of Galzyr is a game that was published on Kickstarter. Now it's available to buy on the publisher website. And it's an adventure story-driven game about the Lands of Galzyr, and you play as various animals that have different adventures, go on different quests, that will meet different characters and companions and get different items. So you can say it's a typical story-driven game, but it's not, because this game doesn't have any campaign, it doesn't have any scenarios. It's an open world game. So you start in a, let's say, a city, and you have your character board, you have some quests and some ideas what your character is doing in this land, but everything you do, you decide where to go, you decide what quest to take, and it's really cool and very unique, because I'm used to story-driven games that have campaigns, they have scenarios, and they guide you from point A to point B and tell you what you have to accomplish. And in this game, it's all about the story, about the quests, but it's up to you what you will do here. Let me show you how the game plays. Okay, one more thing. This game is app-driven game. You need an app for this game. It works in the form of a website. The app is used for most of the story text and for different choices you will make in this game. In many situations in this game, you are directed to a specific, you can say, paragraph, to a specific point in the app, and then you read some kind of a story. Then you have some choices that you take. You make some tests with dice, but you input the results in the app. So the app doesn't trace your hero on the map, but it's used for story. If you don't like games with apps, the Lands of Galzyr is definitely not for you. Let me show you how this game plays, and then I will tell you my opinion about this game. This is the Lands of Galzyr prepared for play. I'm playing solo with one character. Here you have a board, beautifully drawn. On the board there are different locations that our character will travel to, different quests that we can take, and here is our meeple of our character, the bird. The board is double-sided. Here is the, you can say, summer, spring side. On the other side there is the winter side, because it's important in this game, first, which month do we have, and also which day of the week we have. Here is our character, the one that I'm playing. You have 4 characters in the box. They look like this. They are very nice, and each character has some special, you can say, abilities. Like this one is color, and of course it's a frog, so it can swim. You have number of coins and your attributes. There are 6 different attributes in this game, and when you will be doing different tests and skill checks during your travels, you will test the different attributes depending if you want to steal something, or talk to someone, or fight someone. There are these cool plastic bits that you can use to mark which attributes are you are good at. So for example, if you make something like this, it means that you are clever and your knowledge level is 1. You can add another one, it means your knowledge is 2. And if you will perform a knowledge test somewhere during your adventures, you will use better dice. I will talk about dice and skill checks a little later. And what you will do in this game? You will basically live a life of an adventurer. This game doesn't give you any specific goal. There is no campaign, or there are no scenarios that tell you, for example, that you have to I don't know, go to a specific city, or in order to win the game, you have to defeat some evil, I don't know, king of this kingdom, for example. It's more like a sandbox game. You will get different quests, and you can do this quest, go to different locations, talk to specific characters, but it's all up to you what you will do. You will start in one of the locations, and you can go up, down, left, right. You have different quests. It's up to you what you will do. And the game will last specific number of rounds, of days, and after that the game will end, and you can save it and continue your adventures in the future. So this game is more about the fun of you know, exploring, it's more about adventures and not about accomplishing a specific goal. During your adventures, you will have different cards. You have location cards that tell you what you can do in specific cities. One thing I want to mention, that there will be some spoilers in this part of the video, because I cannot tell you or show you how to play this game without showing you some, you know, cards or items or things like this. So if you want to avoid any spoilers, you can skip this part of the video and you go to the part where I talk about my opinion of this game. But you have location cards. If you go to a specific city, you can do different things. Your character can have item cards. The item cards will allow you to use some specific actions in you know, specific moments of the game. There's always a text, some, you know, story text on the cards, but also some abilities that you can, you know, trigger during the game. You can have some specific abilities, like, you know, this bird can fly, for example, and can add +3 to movement if you would like to use this card. You have some quests, and the quests sometimes they have different parts, like this is part 1, and they have some stories that you will have to unfold and explore. And to, you know, start this quest or, you know, do something, you have to go to a specific city or to a specific location on the map. You can get companions that will travel with you, and they will lend you some abilities or some keywords that are important during some skill checks. So there's a lot of things are going on in here. There are always some quests here that you can try to do. If you go to a specific city, you can take this quest and keep it in your player area. You can always have maximum of 3 quests, up to 3 quests, so you cannot have more of them. You can also have 3 items in your inventory. There are also these funny tokens. They are called, I think, time tokens, and you use them to mark some specific events on the calendar, because with this token you track what day of the week it is. Like now we have Saturday, and sometimes you have cards that have this icon of a clock, and for example this card says 5, and it means that when you got this card you have to find a matching pair of tokens. Doesn't matter what image they have, it just has to be the same pair of tokens, and you mark 5 days in advance on this calendar with this token. And it means that, for example, this frog that that joined me on my travels will leave my company in 5 days. So you use these tokens to track some events that will happen on a specific day of the week, so you won't forget about them. You have also dice, and different dice are used to perform different skill checks. Your character has 6 attributes, like thievery and, you know, combat, might, survival, knowledge, etc. And always when you do a test, you have to use 5 dice. These are 5 basic black dice, and on each side you have one of the symbols of a corresponding attribute. But if you are good in some specific attributes, you can replace the black dice with some colored dice. And for example, if you would like to make a perception test, I have perception 2 because I have 2 plastic beads here. I can replace 2 black die with 2 blue die. So this will be my dice that I will use to make this skill check. And the blue dice are better because on 2 sides they have 2 perception successes, and on the other side they have 2 successes of the adjacent attribute on this wheel. So before you make a test, it's up to you which dice to choose, and you have to look at your character attributes and take the proper dice that will give you probably most successes in the skill check. When it's your turn, you can do basically 2 things. You can move up to 2 spaces on the map. The spaces are the round red locations connected with roads. So you can move up to 2 locations, and then you have to perform a you can say adventure story. Like for example, on this card you can see that you have 3 things that you can do. You can go to market or library or docks. If you would like to visit this card, you can visit ranger station. So after you move, of course you don't have to move, you can stay in the same area. You have to choose one of the story options that are available for you and read it in the app, because this game is app driven. I told you about it at the beginning of the video. You need an app, or maybe this is more of a website, but you need to use an app to play this game, because all the stories and dialogues and all the story that will happen in this game is only in the app. You don't get any story book with any entries. If you finish your movement on a location that doesn't have any number, you can use this event deck, and you take 1 card from the top of this deck, and depending on different things, like if you are in a settlement or grassland or forest or hill or mountain, you will perform one of this, you will read one of these entries. When you read an entry, the app will give you some options. Sometimes you will do a skill check, sometimes it will ask you if there is a specific card in the card box, because you can see this whole box of cards, they are numbered, and you will take specific cards or find specific cards in your travels. You have items here, you have quests there, and a lot of things. And some cards are specific to a specific characters, so the app will ask you sometimes if a specific card is here or not, and you will read some story text and you will make a choice. After you move and after you resolve the story round ends, you will progress this tracker 1 day forward, and the game continues. When the game reaches the end game token on this calendar track, the game ends. The length of the game depends on the player number. You can play cooperatively, solo, or competitively. When you play competitively, you cannot see it because it's at the top of the board, but there is a prestige track. You can gain prestige during the game, and the player with most prestige wins the game. But it's the only difference. You don't fight with each other or anything. And if you play solo or cooperatively, if you play with 1 player, you have 8 days to finish the game, and the more players, the less days you have, because every day each player can do something. So with 4 players and 5 days, you will have 20 things will happen on the board. And when the game ends, you will, you can save it, you can pack it to your game box and continue adventures next time. I will show you how the app looks like, so you have an idea. Let me show you. The app is fairly simple because it only tracks which day of the week it is, and you have different entries that you can read depending on which one you chose during your adventures. And let's say that at some point of the game we have option to read entry 53, and for example the app asks you, does the library have card 297 available? If it's not available yet, for example, you click no and you can read the story. While making good pace on your travels, you pass a well-known campsite. It's not a surprise to hear voices, but the shouting makes you slow down and see if there is anyone in trouble. And you approach to this campsite, and there is this there are animals fighting or accusing each other of that one stole money from the other, and you have different options. For example, now it asks you, do you have a streetwise tag? And it appears that I have, because my character, the river kingfisher, has streetwise and flight. I have streetwise, so I click yes, and now I can read another part of the story, and I have three options. Apply your street experience, so I can use this skill specific to my character, or check Gebisu's pocket for the stolen money, and it will require to test my thievery attribute. Medium means that I will have to get at least 2 successes to succeed, and not my problem, it's another option. Let's say that I would like to make a skill check. So now I have to get specific number of dice. I would like to use these dice. 1 pink because it's for thievery, 2 blue because they are for perception and they have on 2 sides the thievery icon, and 2 black. So I will roll the dice, and I have 4 successes. And after you roll, you can once re-roll all dice, but then you have to accept the final result. So now I have to reveal the outcome, and I had 4 successes. I click this, and there's another part of the story, and at the end of the story it tells me to get card number 33 from the library, card 99, then return the event card that told me to read this specific story to the bottom of the event deck, and etc. And now I can end the scene. I will progress my day tracker here. I also have to progress the tracker here, and either the next before progressing this tracker, if there are other players, they will use their turn, and if there are no other players, you progress this day token and the game continues like this. I also would like to show you a few cool things because the rule book is really well written. It has a lot of pages, but everything is very well explained. At first I thought, wow, this is a quite complex game, but it's not. It just tells you all the cards that you will find in this game. It tells you how to use skill checks and everything. It also tells you how to save this game for your next adventure. But you also get this cool, you can say, I don't know, information guide about Galzyr. It's really cool because welcome to Galzyr, Lands of Adventure and Excitement. It looks like something you could find in, I don't know, some tourist information center somewhere. You can read about all the regions, about all the cities, even about the author of this guide. So this is really, really cool. A lot of attention to details. Let's go to the summary part of this video. So you know how to play Lands of Galzyr. I have to explain myself because you will think that I show you another game that I say I love, but I choose games for review that I think I will like. I don't review games that I don't find interesting, and I love Lands of Galzyr. It's an awesome game, mostly because it gives you this open living world where you can do different things, but you can decide what to do and where to go. And this is such a breath of fresh air, because all the campaign games, they guide you to specific locations, specific cities. You have to go there, you have to kill this monster and that monster, and so on and so on. And here it's up to you. It reminds me of video games where you have an open world and you can decide what to do. This game is not in a fantasy setting, apart from the animals that are main heroes here. It's more like a medieval game, but in a fictional land of Galzyr. It plays really nice. You have very interesting stories. The stories and the quests are often divided into a lot of parts. So when you do one part of the quest, you get another card and you can find out what happens next. The world is a living world, and what you do in this game has an impact on your future options, because sometimes you have to replace a location card with another card that gives you more options, and sometimes the app asks you if the card with this number is available or not, and it may be available if you did something in the past, or it may be not available if you didn't do something in the past. So your choices matter, and they have an impact on this game. What's great for me is that you can focus on the story, because I love adventure games and story-driven games, but in games, for example, like Tainted Grail or Sleeping Gods, they had very unique and cool stories. And this game reminds me a lot of Sleeping Gods in terms of open world and the options you have. But in the games I mentioned before, you have to do a lot of things other than the exploration. There is grind, there are a lot of characters, and you have to do a lot of things that I sometimes find boring or exhausting in order to get the story part of this game. And here you can really focus on the adventure and on the stories. One gameplay takes about an hour. You can save the game, you can continue the next day. The saving system works great because you have a special tray in the box with card and separators, so you know which card you put where. You have a save slot, so you take all your cards, you put them in the save slot, and if you want to continue the next day, you take the cards out from the box and you can start playing. You have different seasons, you have different days of the week. There are things that happen on specific days, or you have companions that stay with you for certain time and then they go on their own adventures. You might meet them in the future or not. This world is living and I really love it. I like the cute animals and the cute artwork, and this is something I knew from the start when I read about this game, that it looks like a little like Everdell, that the artwork is beautiful and everything is really nice. What disadvantages of this game are: an app. If you don't like app-driven games, this game is not for you, and maybe this game is not very advanced in terms of different mechanisms and different aspects other than the story, because you have your character board and you have some attributes, but this is not a very complex game in terms of I don't know, character development, or you don't have any resources that you will gather. You have some gold, but that's it. You don't have any life points. You cannot die in this game. Probably not. I didn't find an option to die. So it's more about the story and less about the rules and 100 different gameplay mechanics that you have to fight with and learn and remember. I highly recommend you Lands of Galzyr. I know there will be probably an expansion for this game, because there are some hints inside that there will be maybe more characters and more stories. It will be really, really cool. I'm definitely backing an expansion for this game when it comes out. I will leave you a link to the publisher website in the description of the video. It's a really nice guy from Finland. You can say hi to him and visit his website. And I can only recommend this game if I will make a top 10 list of top 10 games of 2022 for me. Lands of Galzyr for sure will be on this list. Thank you for watching. Click the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel. You can visit me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. I will leave links in the description of the video. And thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.